Kopitiam Conversations.
This is Kopitiam Conversations. I'm your host, Winston, and my guest today is Daniel Lee Kwan Leong, co-founder of FirstJoy, a talent development and employee engagement solutions company, and serves as its principal consultant, trainer, coach, and author. Daniel specializes in leadership and thinking subjects that brought him to 7 countries around Asia. He has recently pivoted and trained many online sessions, amongst them a session with more than 1,200 logins across Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Before his 14 years in the learning and development industry, Daniel was a lawyer for 7 years, specializing in commercial and corporate litigation. In 2020, Daniel also started a YouTube channel with 18 personal development tips that summarizes 2 published books he authored, namely Success, Money, and Passion, and 8 Success Qualities of Outstanding People. Welcome, Daniel. Your company, FirstJoy, has been around since 2005. You're in the business of talent development and employee engagement, or what the average person would call corporate training. How has the transition been for you to adapt to online platforms, especially at times like this?
Yeah, I think the transition is quite fast. I think the mother of all innovation is when there is a crisis. Yeah. So I think last year when the pandemic happened, 90, almost 100% of all our engagement, which is face to face, has been cancelled overnight. And of course, some of them they will tell us that it's postponed, but after a few months, they know that we are in for a long run and they cancel it. What we did is that, of course, we sat down. We have a lot of time in our hands. Prayed about it really hard, and we string together a few ideas, and we see pockets of opportunities. And we were saying that everyone across my industry is affected, and there is always a demand for services, for training. I think the most logical way to do it is to transfer it online, like a lot of people that work from home today. So we actually transfer the whole thing online, and the assurance that we give ourselves, myself and my partner, is that I don't think that there are many people in the same industry as me, the service providers. They will be able to pivot and transfer to the next platform very well. So I think even though the market is smaller, I think there will be lesser service providers for us. So I think that works for us, but slowly clients realize that they have to do something online, and some of them are very keen into jumping into e-learning, and we are just fortunate enough to work with those people who are keen to transit. Yeah.
You were trained as a lawyer, more specifically in corporate litigation and intellectual property. So tell us your story and how you came about to the decision to go into corporate training. Did you stumble upon it by accident, or was it something you knew you wanted to do at some point in your life?
It's because when I started off to be a lawyer, I put all my heart and soul into it. The reason why I become a lawyer in those days, I think if I were to tell you what I'm influenced by in order to become a lawyer, you definitely know my age. All right, so it was LA Law.
I remember that show. Yep.
Show. All right, I know it's a pretty trivial way to say that I want to enter the legal profession, but the truth is, yes, it sounds like a very glamorous thing to do. So I studied law, and I make it a point to complete everything. Despite some of my friends are very, they're tempted to, after I get a law degree, I go and do this, I go and do that. I'm so focused. I did my CLP and my chambering, and I practice law, and I enter a big law firm. And I do something that at that time is called intellectual property, patent designs and trademarks and stuff like that. Was quite a niche in those days. And I thought life is quite set for me. But after a number of years practicing, I'm the type of lawyer that argue with people for a living. So I go to court. I'm the type
Right.
of lawyers that go to court, right? So after 4 or 5 years, I think I start to see that negativity have just spilled over to my private life,
All
my
right.
personal life, and it becomes really scary. I don't really like the person that I see in the mirror. I become argumentative, and I'm quite depressed at that time. So I say I think I need to do something. It happens to be my wife. She's also pivoting into corporate training. She used to do education, technical training for HP.
Oh, all right. Okay.
But not in soft skills, not in leadership, but she sees that there's an opportunity in it. And I'll say that, the only thing that I can contribute is maybe I can talk since I'm a lawyer, right? So maybe I can talk, but I definitely don't have much experience. But I think that is a good move, and I'm thankful for the early clients that give us the opportunity and trust us and saying that, I didn't see much track record in you, but please come and train my people. I'm still very grateful to people like them. It's amazing, right? Because I don't believe in self-made men or women, because along the way someone give you an opportunity to start.
Right.
Nobody start with a track record, so I'm just thankful to those people. All right, my past.
Did you have to provide mock lessons or classes or sessions so that the people in the organization would be impressed by you or know how you perform before engaging you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did a little bit of that. Of course, they have to see how I speak and things like that. But I think one of the things that I learned from a mentor, and speaking about that, we do have a mentor at that time. We do fashion ourselves like him. He started his company, same name as ours, Everest Innovation Private Limited in Singapore. And we did Everest Innovations in Berhad here, and there is an understanding between them, he and us, that we use the same brand for the first few years of our work. So now we call ourselves FirstJoy. We have been doing that for the past 12 years or so. We have rebranded. But at that time, we were working and leveraging on his credentials as well. In the beginning, we sell his training. So when he trains, we tag along and we co-train with him. So after a while, we can tell people that we also have done training ourselves. So that gives us a little bit of a foothold into people's door, and get people to trust us a little bit. So I think, that's what we do. We leverage on his track record.
Of course, mentoring is very important, especially when you're starting out a new industry. Also, you mentioned about LA law. I think a lot of people, closer to our age would probably be inspired to do law because of LA law. I mean, it makes the legal profession very cool. People walking around in nice suits, people, discussing their cases before the start of the day. I remember every episode, they'll always be sitting in a boardroom table and discussing. I think you remember that, right?
Yeah. And I'm sure, at one time, a lot of people want to be a forensic scientist. Right?
Because of CSI.
I'm one of those.
Oh, really?
So I'm glad. I'm the lawyer part, right? I'm sure other people are forensic scientists. But I'm glad that I'm into this profession, even though I may not like it as much as I would. But it gives me a very good foundation. There are two things that give me good foundation. Number one is my legal background, and number two is learning how to sell. I think that is really super useful. Myself and my wife, we were involved in a multi-level marketing business. Right?
That I didn't know.
Nobody liked to speak to us because we will ask them to join some sort of membership and buy some sort of products. And that in that few years train us to be more thick-skinned, learn how to accept rejection and try again, and learn about the law of average, and learn about how to follow up on sales. Yeah,
That's
I
right.
think that is the foundation. And if a lot of people would ask me today, how do I get get started with my business? I think one of the most important skills is to learn how to sell. And after that is systems. After that, then is expansion. All right. Without sales, there is no customer. Businesses just doesn't run on a good product or good service.
Yep.
In the opinion of the founder, it doesn't work that way. That's how I feel.
In the same way, I started off in a pharmaceutical career as well. Started off doing sales, waiting on doctors. So that taught me a lot of lesson on patience, on waiting for people, on listening to people, understanding their needs before engaging them. Yeah. So I think that those are actually very good skills to develop. I believe you and your wife, Angeline, share a similar core value whereby you set out to establish and restore the joy of work. So given the current scenario in Malaysia, with the lockdown extended even further, where people have to, even currently now, work out of necessity to pay bills, to feed the family, to worry about what we call their daily bread, and also have to work long hours, no thanks to, of course, the MCO, so they work at home, they work long hours. Now, how can one find the joy of work?
That is the crux of the whole thing for the pandemic. I think before that, people need to enjoy their work. People need to feel that they are going somewhere or they are having a peace of mind. I think during the pandemic, it even heightened it even more. Just 2 weeks ago, I was doing a workshop for a group of lecturers in a university, and we were talking about all these things, and I'm also training them, and we talk about productivity, and of course people will come up with work-life balance, and I tell them, and some of them agree, in fact all of them agree, that there is no such thing as work-life balance anymore, or especially for those of them who need to do their work and lecture, at home, using Zoom and everything. There's no such thing as work-life balance for them because they cannot draw a distinction anywhere, whether they are working or they are at home because their children are running around and so on. It's more of like a work-life integration, and it's more of like prioritizing, and more of like having peace in the time and place of chaos when your children are running around and things like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's and we talk about that in the training, and we exchange some views and things like that. And one of the things that I said, it helps them to enjoy their work a little bit more, is that now that since that your work life is integrated, and a lot of them have young children at home and older parents at home and things like that, I said being kind to each other is very important.
Right.
Where you work, it used to be in your office, right, most of the time, but now it's at your home. All right, being kind, I just say, just use two handles, right? Number one, be interested in the people around you. Ask them, how are they and what are they like, and how are they experiencing anything at home and things like that. Just be interested in them. Right. And the other one is to appreciate them, And I think with that, you have better relationships at home. I think that will help you to enjoy your work. And so when push comes to shove, when the stress and the crunch time, you can always rely on those people around you to give you the support that you give. It's like a law of reciprocity. If you want kindness, you give kindness. You want appreciation, you give appreciation, and it will somehow return. So I think joy of work is very important. And the other thing that we do a lot of is actually to help people with their emotional well-being. A lot of emotional intelligence is part and parcel of it. So we do quite a lot of it, especially this 1 year or two, we have quite a lot of requests of doing that.
Is it possible for an individual to find the joy of work while they are gainfully employed? Of course, we talked about more tactical things earlier, but for most people, when they are in employment, they are still subject to upper management's decisions and stakeholders' obligations, and sometimes having to do the kind of thing that they don't particularly enjoy, they may go against their own principles because of what the upper management may require of them. What are your thoughts on this?
There's a few things on this. I think I've written it in the book that I've written, 8 Success Qualities. I think one thing that you mentioned that, there are certain things, that aspects of your work that you don't like when you're working with people. Same with an entrepreneur, same with a self-employed person. Not all aspects of the things that we do every day is super exciting.
That's right.
So if you make a list of 10, 20 things, and if you find that 90% of them you don't enjoy, I think that is fundamentally, seriously, have an issue about the workplace that you work. All right, it could be the work itself, or it could be us, because a lot of times it's not so much about the external thing. We control what we can control, all right, and things that we cannot control, we learn how to influence. But sometimes if everything that is not right at the workplace, all right, it's either the workplace or the work itself or us. Right. The best way to know this is that if you go to another workplace and you find that 90% of the things you don't like, all right, and then after that you go on to the next workplace, 90% of the stuff you don't like, all right, then maybe it's not the workplace, right? Maybe it's the person, right? So I think it's about making peace and saying that there are things that I enjoy, there are things that I don't enjoy, and if things that I enjoy outweighs the things that I don't enjoy, I think definitely that is a good place to start.
All right.
And the second thing is about well-being, and it's also about learning how to influence and talking to your boss, your manager, your supervisor, and just say that these are the things that I'm good at. I can do more of this. These are the things that I am not very good at. Maybe my colleagues are good at, all right? And maybe we can enhance them a little bit, all right? Increase the things that we like at work. I think that's how we find joy at the workplace. There's no absolute,
Right. At the other end of the spectrum, so we're talking about those business owners and self-employed entrepreneurs now. Okay, so these business owners and self-employed entrepreneurs, especially of startups, feeling miserable because of a lot of these people have to balance the books, have to, get very stressed out because it's about making ends meet as well. So how can they find joy at work? Because they may have experienced the joy of work starting out, but after a prolonged period and the wind has left the sail, how can they translate the joy of work into joy at work?
For me, I think I'm experiencing bits and pieces of what you say. And after 15 odd years, after a second business, I have a first failed business, and then we started off the second business. After about 15 years into the second business, the first business only lasted 2 years. Myself and my wife, we lost our own money. We lost other people's money. Only one of them are still our friend, I think. Still like my Facebook page, but the rest not in contact anymore. So, but when it comes to that, right? I think if someone were to start a business, the person I recommend that if you want to start your own business, I recommend that you need to have that love for entrepreneurship. Because balancing the books, calculating your profits, getting your clients to pay you, all right, and things like that, that is part of entrepreneurship. If you don't enjoy that, I think is or the challenge of balancing your cash flow,
right,
and things like that. And I think if you don't enjoy that, I think because we just love the idea of doing a product or doing a service alone, and we don't have the love for entrepreneurship, I think it's very tough for people to have a startup company.
That's right.
Having said that, you can always outsource all these boring bits.
That is true.
If you have business. All right, as long as, that's what I said in the beginning, that if you do sales, you have selling skills, all right, and as long as there are traffic and money going through your business, all right, all these boring bits you can outsource it. You can have people to do your books, do your accounting. You can employ people to do that. You can outsource it. Yeah, but I believe that nothing lasts forever. Even though your love for entrepreneurship is amazing, your business is going well, but there could be second phase and third phase of your life. I read the book called Halftime by Bob Buford. It's very interesting. Is that people's priorities and their needs for significance and so on changes along the way. Yeah. So I think if you ever have the privilege of running a business, have a privilege of doing well, all right. My saying is that don't feel guilty that you don't feel as good as what it used to be, because probably you are at the half time of your life and you want to go on and do something more significant. Yeah. Which myself and my wife are at the moment. We are planning the second half, all right, doing certain things that are significant that may not be the same as what we used to do.
Yep, I guess it's always important to have that, growth mindset, and to always, everything in its season, I suppose. So what may be something that is very important to you now, I won't say may not be important in the future, but its significance may be a lot less, and there may be something else that comes in place that has taken over and has became more important as you move through, different phases of your life, I suppose, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to change tracks a bit, and we're going to talk about you, the author, all right? So you are the author of Success, Money and Passion, Finding the Perfect Balance at Work, and you also co-authored 8 Success Qualities of Outstanding People with Angeline. Okay, so what were some of the challenges writing these books, and what were some of the winning moments or epiphanies, a moment of discovery you had encountered in your journey while writing the books?
Yeah, I think the learning for me about writing books is this. I don't really like writing. but I have went through quite a lot of experiences when we train and when we coach people throughout the years.
Right.
And what motivates me to write is because, number one, I've experienced all that. And number two, is the love of entrepreneurship. Is something that can propel my work and my credentials, and will also benefit of the people that comes through my training. Because of that I write, and I was quite disciplined about it. I just set aside the time and set the target and say that this is how much I'm going to write, and I'm going to finish it, right? Whether I have inspiration or not. But most of the time is that when I start writing, the inspiration comes. It's not the inspiration comes, then I start to write. So I think that is something that helps me. And I think the epiphany of coming through is that, number one, is that people do be able to benefit from the book. So I'm grateful that people like it. And it helps in terms of credentials in the business.
Right.
And also, we were fortunate enough that Advantage Quest decided to publish our first book, and after that they requested for a second. Before that, I was just telling myself that if I will never ever find a publisher, that's all right as well, because that's why I printed the first version of it called The Joy of Work. But when they took it over, they titled it something else because it's already printed, self-published, the first version.
But Advantage Quest is quite well known among personal development, self-help books and all, because very often I will have a few of these books, and then it's either published or distributed by Advantage Quest. So I do have those John C. Maxwell books and all that has that sticker distributed by Advantage Quest.
I'm grateful that they're willing to take it on. I'm just trying my best to do it. Yeah. Of course, I think a little bit of prayer helps.
Yep. And earlier you mentioned that the discipline is the one that provides the inspiration, right? Because you were disciplined at it, and then the inspiration comes once you set aside time to work at it. If I get that correct from you.
Yes, because I do know people that they write when inspiration strikes. Yeah, but I'm definitely not one of them.
More recently, you also have some short 5-minute videos on YouTube on personal development tips. Now, I like those. Tell us what inspired you to do this, because I thought the production value seems rather polished. Did you have a production team doing that with you? And I especially like it when you use the Lego Star Wars figurines. What inspired you to do this? Again, was it discipline that inspired you, or this came out of a eureka moment?
It started off with a crisis.
Oh.
A crisis that left us with no work, everyone canceled. That was the first year of pandemic. We started off with that crisis, and I have time in my hand, and I was saying that, and I also start to realize that people don't read books anymore. I was thinking that maybe I should write a third book, now that I have time on my hands, right? Then I realized that maybe people don't read books as much as they used to be. Watching videos is all the rage, and people want bite size and things like that. Then I said, okay, why don't I, as a progression of the books, the 2 books, instead of writing some more, go and summarize it, pick up some of the nuggets and things like that that I like, and do a video about it. And I said, when I do a video, is maybe I need to string them up together. So the only thing that I can think of is co-relationship with each other.
Right.
So that's where the Lego figurines come about, because I use Lego figurines and Lego blocks in some of my training as well.
Right.
But before that, I started, if I tell you, then you know my age again, it was those days that people collect Snoopy figurines from, from McDonald's.
Yes.
Right, I'm advertising for them, yeah.
Yep.
All right. So so during my courtship days, I used to faithfully collect and give it to my wife.
Wow.
My girlfriend. All right. So we have tons of it, I only miss a few, in the entire whole collection. So at first I thought maybe we should do that. I would say, I will introduce a figurine. I will just say that this is, the 32 I'm going to challenge myself to have 32 videos based on the 32 figurines that we have.
Wow.
Then this is the first draft of my idea. Then my wife always give input, right? My wife will say, number 1, 32 is a little bit too long. You might run out of gas. Number 2, Snoopy may not be all the rage, maybe Lego will be more all the rage, because they have the Star Wars version and all the amazing version, right?
And with the movies and all, yep.
And then with movies and things like that, and say that since that you have those lying around, why don't you pick it up? So I go and go back to my office and collected 30, about 20 of them, and then I said, okay, now I'll reduce it to 18. It sounds good, because my book is 8 success qualities, so I reduce it to 18. And the production is all by myself in this place, and half of it is in my office. And I like doing some photography and things like that. So during the pandemic, I brushed up on my videography skills.
Right.
My best tutor is through YouTube. Right? And bought myself an editing software. And find that it's very interesting that editing software nowadays is so easy to use, and you have all these special effects and things like that. So I find that is quite amazing and interesting. So I just experiment with myself and did that 18 videos.
So for those of you who are listening in today, you can go and check out Daniel's video called the 18 Personal Development Tips. Now, following today's session, what is one take-home advice you like to give the listeners of this podcast?
If you are listening in and you may be hoping that you might find some ideas about working better, or have some sort of peace in where you work and enjoy your work a little bit. Yeah, I just want to encourage people who are like that. Is that it's the little things that you do right every day, and success will come based on the accumulation of the little things that we do right along the way in a consistent manner. And I do not dare to claim that this is my own wisdom. I learned it from someone when we just started off in our career. It's from Jim Rohn, amazing motivational speaker. I really like his work. Too bad that he just passed away recently. He said this, it's the little things that you do, and when it accumulated, that's where you become a success. Like attending your meetings, being on time, all right, being disciplined to write whatever that you need to write or do whatever you need to do. Go and invest in that relationship that you need to invest, and do the little things for the people that you love and you respect around, and so on and so forth, right? So if you do all these things right consistently, all right, it's very amazing. Times will come that, you know, all these things will come back and, you know, give you the reward that you want. So many of our clients, all right, we have been having really good relationship with them. We have been adding value to what they do. Some of them, we don't see them much. After a while, we finish a project with them. And guess what? During the pandemic, as it progresses, as they have something that they want to do, they will reach out the Zoom, not phone anymore, reach out their Zoom and talk to us, you know. Right. So that is quite amazing. So it's those little things. Yeah. Can you imagine that if you were to do those little things wrong, right, and consistently, all right, if you have a chocolate bar a day, right, instead of an apple a day, all right, can you see the consequences of
definitely,
both sides, both ends? So I think that will be my parting words or wisdom, if you like to call it that, but I would say that it's wisdom from Jim Rohn, not me.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for spending time with us this afternoon.